Yay! Hey, Vortex fam! Welcome to the final episode of the second season of the Vortex. This has been such a humbling journey and so much evolution and joy. And I've really just kind of taken some time recently to reflect on this podcast and really the intention that I have here and kind of how that is continuing to evolve. And I'm super stoked about the question that has come up for me, and it's just kind of been lingering for a while, and just, for it to be a question that kind of drives the final discussion on this season of the Vortex is really fun and exciting. And what the question is the truth objective? And when you really ask yourself that, when you sit with that question for a while, I've been sitting with it for days and days now. And that's why it is true. Like, this question will keep you thinking. And it's one we have to really ask ourselves, especially with where we are as a society and all over the world, the things that are going on, what's happening, a variety of things that I'm not going to unload into. But it really makes you ask if truth is something that's objective or is it subjective? Is everyone entitled to their own truths? Is the truth something that varies from person to person, or is there a greater power over all of us that dictates what is truth, what is untruth? And when we really look within and sit within, do we all produce the same kind of truths? And it makes you ask, what is truth? And the more that I start asking myself questions from this place, the more I want to say humble, but that doesn't feel like the right word. But it is, the more humble I become because I realize, like, shoot, this isn't all about me. I really don't have the power that I thought that I had. And it can be really scary when you start digging into these kind of questions. And I know that they come up for everybody. Like, God really hits you with well, what about this? What do you think about this? It's not so personal and so small minded, the framing of it. When we get hit with these existential questions, when we ask these existential questions. And, back to the question that came up is the truth objective? I don't even know what my answer is yet because I wouldn't be able to provide a full explanation. Being able to get into a removed kind of perspective and really observe all the moving parts there. And when we ask ourselves this question, it really asks, are you in charge of all of this? That's what kind of came out for me. Because if I want to say, no, the truth isn't objective, it's a subjective topic. It's like, okay, so you're the one, I'm the one that's making the decisions about what the truth is. And then, you have to kind of be like, well, yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying. Or is it like a population of people? Where is the root of truth? And to be constantly asking ourselves this in life really brings us closer to God because God is the ultimate truth. None of this separation that we experience here, it's when we ask these really deep questions, they point to one direction. I really believe that. No, not the boy band. This isn't a conspiracy video. This isn't a conspiracy podcast. Well, sometimes it is. But getting deep with that, like, where does truth come from? Well, what my parent you can really backtrace these, and you end up at the same place. That's what I've noticed about these major existential questions, and that's why this isn't a common discussion. This isn't, I mean, now it could be considered, but it's like, are you doing it in an authentic way? And the way that the ego can get involved here is really interesting to observe. I've had a lot going on in my heart, in my body, in my mind recently, and just having major releases like, cries and headaches, and, just feeling like, and in those moments, choosing to be present instead of choosing to disassociate or think about something else or take myself out of the present. I sit in that pain. I notice that pain. I face reality. And I really think that that confidence has come from really asking these questions and being open to these questions and being humble in the fact that I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer to these big life questions. And that's why I have to lean back and let go into it and just kind of fall. That's really the only option that we have, is to just fall in, jump in, trust that God's going to catch you, and just, it always happens. And it doesn't happen on time, on your time. It doesn't happen in the same way, but it always happens. And where we are in the world, I think, is a really, really scary thing. And, I haven't really talked about that much on any of my platforms or channels. And it's not that I'm ignoring it, it's that I really make connections and kind of just see what is going on is really sickening all over the globe, all over, God's green earth. And it's this disconnection we have as humans. I think that is the ultimate root of what's happening on earth. And of course, you could ask me this at another time and it might be another answer, but it really does come back to this disconnection, and we're out of agreement, which connects to this idea of truth. Truth is something that everyone can agree upon. That's what truth really is in human terms. Something everybody agrees upon. And now, when we look deeper, it's like, are we creating what we agree upon, or is it coming from our higher power? Are we agreeing on God's terms? Are we creating our own terms? And right now, it's just everything is so out of whack. That's not even relevant. It's not even relevant on a bigger scale. But to start in small community and start somewhere, that's the only way we are going to heal what is happening. And it may seem like, well, we need to be doing this, we need to be talking about this and that and all of this. That's the media's job. The media will have that handled. How are we going to combat these existential problems that we're experiencing on earth? And it's by asking these big questions and letting the answers humble us. There's some kind of dynamic in asking ourselves questions. It's really interesting. When I catch myself doing it, it's really an out of body experience when I give myself permission not to know the answer, not to be a little, smart ass and know everything. When I step back, okay, I don't know. And I kind of let my intuition, my soul speak. Ooh, letting our soul answer and listening to our soul. I feel like that's one of the great ways that we actually can communicate with our spirit, or to honor our spirit, is to ask these really deep questions and be willing to hear an answer. And it's just funny how as humans we believe that we control everything, but it's actually our connection to higher self, higher power, God, that is where that sense of control comes from. Because we know deeply that we are intertwined with the divine. That's really where we come from. And this can get contorted through this human experience because we're falling, we're drinking the Kool Aid. We're thinking, well, I'm the one that's in control of all this. And especially with the new age of spirituality, which I personally was, a little bit sucked into. I'm kind of on a I'm kind of on a healing journey from all of that we can get into at a later time. But we don't have control. We have the ability to kind of be in the right place at the right time, if that's how you want to see it, or get our ducks in a row so that they're prepared when the water sweeps in, and they have some semblance of we have some semblance of understanding. And we misunderstand that for having control. It's super super interesting, and that's where we're going to circle back again to this idea of, is the truth objective or is it subjective? What do you believe it to be? And what I want to emphasize with this question that I've learned is that there isn't a straightforward answer to this right now. And my answer is not going to be the same answer as everybody else has. I have to figure that out for myself and move forward accordingly. Because once you answer that question, the way that you see things changes. At least that's what's going on for me. I'm slowly starting to unravel my beliefs surrounding this idea. And it's interesting how we get to certain beliefs. We don't always get to beliefs because of our trust in that being right, or our trust in that being the best way to go about something. There's so much ego tied up in our belief systems. Ooh, because they're our belief system. Is it our belief system? Or is there kind of like this, code that can guide us in the direction of living the fullest experience on this planet? I don't know. It's just I'm pondering. I'm really pondering. And the more that you think about it, the more it kind of unravels. And what I want to emphasize is that it can be so easy to have a knee-jerk reaction to this question. And I think that's what we've been conditioned to. That's how we've been conditioned to answer any questions. Put on the spot, like, boom, you better have an answer, you better have an explanation. But no, as humans, we were designed to really sit and ponder and wonder. Yet we don't ever have the time for that, do we? We don't ever really have the time to just sit back and wonder. And, I am a little woo woo, but I don't think that that's a coincidence, the way that the system is designed to take that away from us. Because when we're in those states, it's indescribable. I can't even put it, I can pretend to try to put it into words, but you get it. You get what I'm talking about. We just need more and more and more of that. And I believe when we continue to meet with the things that provide that for us, God will continue expanding them and growing them and watering them for us so that they continue to open up with opportunities, with pathways, with opportunity. I'm just staring off into these beautiful trees right now. The way that the sun is just highlighting the green leaves, and we got some red over here. The autumn colors are just the way that the sun is kind of hiding from being directly on me. It's kind of peeked down over here, and yet it's hitting all the trees over here, all the trees over here. I'm just kind of in the shade of it right now. And, to be on the outside looking in, that's how I feel. And that's how life really has been feeling recently. And not in a way that feels negative in a way that feels empowering in a very different kind of way. And, well, I feel like I really had my climax today on this episode, and it felt really, really good to share. And I hope that this really inspired some kind of thought, some kind of seed planting. And that's what will just continue to happen when we share these ideas, these big, kind of wild ideas with each other and hear each other out and ponder them for ourselves instead of just, you know, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this right now. But I'm in a super content and grateful place right now. And just to really have felt like I have taken this podcast more seriously within the past couple of months is just super important, and it's very special to me. And I hope that this place is special to you too. I'm really going to revamp things and come back with a whole new tone because it's finally becoming clear, what I feel the purpose is here. It's not for me to just sit down and, hear myself talk as much as I like that. And I'm not afraid to admit it. It just feels natural to, ponder and share some of God's greatest questions that I've been asked. And to give, I want to people to know that you have permission to really sit back and ask yourself these and to open up to these, even though they make us uncomfortable. Certain truths make us uncomfortable. They make us scared. And yeah, it's very beautiful, and I'm excited for where this can go. Just having this open space, it just really feels like a wide open space where every, human can be empowered to speak their truth and what they feel that is to them. And then to sit back and ask if that truth is objective. To just always go a little bit deeper. Always go a little bit deeper. And that's why it was called the Vortex in the first place, because, we experience this, day to day basic reality where we go through the motions and it can feel predictable in a way. And how, in that, our 2D realities and how it looks on paper is one thing, but when we really go, we have this capability to continue going deeper, to step into this place that feels otherworldly and observe our problems, observe our traumas and our experiences and what makes us who we are from this bird's eye view. That's what really where the vortex came from. It's like stepping into this other dimension that kind of fades away the boundaries and the separations that we feel and really lets everything be open and seen and vulnerable. And when we're in that space, we get to ask the questions that we need to ask. We get to ponder in ways that we have been taught we're not supposed to look at things, that, oh, don't worry about that, look over here. And to just kind of pull back the veil and see it all when you step into the vortex. And so, as it makes me a little bit sad to not be recording any more episodes this year, I'm super overjoyed and feeling very positive about what is to come with this next season and what this chapter of life is going to, this next chapter of life is going to unfold. And so, with that, we are going to wrap it up, step out of the vortex, and I'm just going to express such gratitude for the listeners because I see you guys out here, and, you know, what's the saying? Few but far between. I feel you, I get you. You obviously get what we're all experiencing. And I think that that's so cool that there is like minded beings moving through this experience. And I appreciate the support. I really, really do. And just know that I'm supporting you in whatever you do as well. I really just support the mass awakening of consciousness, a return of God worshiping well balanced humans. And I know that's what's coming. But, anyways, to sign up for the Vortex for the last time in a while. In about 100 days, the Vortex, the new season will release on Valentine's Day next year, February 14th. So until then, keep up on YouTube and make sure you subscribe to my newsletter to stay in the loop about stuff. But until then, my loves, I will see you soon. And let's wrap it up. Step out of the vortex. Big beams, big dreams. Love you guys.